What does it mean to go home after decades away, to return not to rubble and silence, but to a place buzzing with new life? I'm Jamal Osman. Welcome to my journalism toolkit. In 2015, I traveled to Hargeisa, the quieter corners of northern Somalia, to report on a story that defied the narrative most people had grown used to. When I say the word Somalia, most people think of war, a country broken by 3 decades of conflict. And it's true, in the south, the guns are still blazing. But in the north, in Somaliland, Puntland and other places, there is peace, resilience, rebuilding. I remember arriving in Hargeisa, the very place people once fled was now a magnet pulling them back. Streets full of chatter, trade, new construction, a city alive with possibility. One of the first people I met was Faisal Kibar, once an estate agent in Wembley, now a Camel header. After 24 years in London, he had chosen to come home.
Stress free.
Stress free.
dhaqanka waxa weeye ninka tirageelle waa nin de xoolo leh qaninimaduna ma aha kaliya xoolaha waa qalbiga marka ninka wax yar ilaahay si u barakeeyo haysta waa qani.
He questioned the very idea of freedom. That tension between modernity and tradition, between what the world thought of Somalia and what Somalis themselves were experiencing. Back in Hargeisa, Ethiopians make up the largest number of immigrants in the city. I spoke with Wadaje, who laughed at how his family back home couldn't believe he was safe here. Then there was Adam, another returnee from London. He had spotted a gap in the market and launched a construction business.
Let's go! Yep.
His team was composed of different nationalities, workers from India, Pakistan and beyond. His site manager Mohammed told me,
Company good, Somaliland good, Kulli Somali people good.
Some problem, the language problem, but Indian no problem, Pakistani no problem, Somali people no problem. So good, so like this, very good.
Yet a paradox revealed itself. While migrants poured in, young Somalis were still leaving, chasing dreams built on social media posts. I couldn't ignore the irony. Some were fleeing Somalia, while others were rushing in. Refugees from Yemen were arriving daily, crossing the Gulf of Aden in overcrowded boats. I remember watching exhausted faces light up with relief. One woman told me, in just 2 months, 5,000 Yemenis had made the journey, not only fleeing war, but drawn by the construction boom, by the promise of work, by the absence of restrictions that so many other countries imposed. Everywhere I looked, the city was changing. Ethiopians opening barbershops, Yemenis finding work, Pakistanis managing construction sites. A man who had just returned after 30 years in America told me,
West Coast, California, Faisal
it was a Somalia people rarely imagined, a place remaking itself not through politics or international intervention, but through the daily choices of returnees and migrants. I ended my visit where I had begun, with Faisal. For him, the contrast was simple.
حاجة مركان شو ورقة إيشو ده عشان خلونا طلب محي تاي بكونسل تكس با ما إلكتريك بيل با ما ووتر بيل با واحد كيف فكر يساون نورمال متكي.
It wasn't just about stress or bills. It was about belonging. Somalia in 2015 stood at a crossroads. People were returning, people were leaving. The challenge, then as now, was how to hold onto the young, how to convince them to stay and build a nation worth believing in. Looking back on that story, I remember more than the interviews and the statistics. I remember the sound of construction, the smell of new paint, the laughter of men who had chosen to come home. This wasn't the Somalia of headlines. It was a Somalia in motion, fragile, hopeful, unfinished. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.